Very good evening. Today Friday 20th of November 2015. You are listening to Athavan ENG.com. Paper highlights read by Edward Udedas Devasagayam Pillai. Now let's focus on today's paper highlights on daily news. First ever budget under unity government. Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake will present Independent Sri Lanka's 70th budget in Parliament today at 2 p.m. It will be a historic occasion when the two main parties, the UNP and the SLP, which previously presented separate budgets when each party was in power, will be presenting a combined budget for the first time today. The government presented a mini budget on January 29 this year. This is the first full budget of the United National Party government and landmark occasion in the country's post-independence political history when the two main parties have agreed to present a budget under a consensual government. Budget 2015 is expected to contain fiscal proposals that will accelerate the development drive and consolidate the firm economic growth, Finance Minister Sosa said. Another highlights on daily news. Harin hits out cabinet conspirators. Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure Minister Harin Fernando hit out at conspirators within the ruling camp trying to sabotage the understanding between the UNP and the SLF for petty political gains. Speaking at a cabinet meeting on Wednesday, the minister said some ministers of the cabinet, including cabinet spokesman Rajitha Senaratne, unfairly criticized him for defending the government's position on the avant-garde issue during television debates. And the highlights on daily news. France confirms suspected mastermind of Paris attacks killed in raid. The suspected mastermind of last week's Paris attacks was killed in the police raid of an apartment north of the capital, French officials said yesterday. Abdel Hamid, about a 28-year-old Belgian militant who had boasted of mounting attacks in Europe for the Islamic State, was accused of orchestrating last Friday's coordinated bombings and shootings in the French capital, which killed 129 people. Mahinda Rajapaksa says he feels executive presidency will remain. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday said that the executive presidency will remain. Addressing the media after meeting the Malawatu and Agrigiriya Mahanayakatheras, Rajapaksa said while some amendments might be made to the executive presidential system, the president may retain most powers. And the highlights on daily news. Army corporal wife arrested for assaulting two policemen. 3 suspects including an army corporal and his wife were arrested for questioning for allegedly assaulting 2 policemen who went to investigate a complaint received on the police hotline yesterday morning. Minuwangoda police said a constable injured in the assault has been admitted to the Gambaha district hospital. Now let's see the highlights on Ceylon today. Government pledges to probe torture camps. The government pledged yesterday that it would investigate the secret torture camp at the naval base in Trincomalee that was in operation during the last regime and also investigate complaints made by the UN working group to the government that families of missing persons were intimidated and harassed by CID officials after the UN officials had spoken to them. The Foreign Ministry quoted the UN working group as having said that they saw secret detention chambers in the Trincomalee naval base which were maintained in the past and not existing now, and urged the government to investigate. The government in return assured them it would do so. And the highlights on Ceylon today. Paris attacks ring leader killed. Several police officials have now confirmed that a woman killed in the Saint Denis raid was the cousin of alleged mastermind. About one official said Hasna Aitabaulsen 8 Balahen was believed to have detonated a suicide vest after a brief exchange with police officials. And the highlights on Ceylon today. New constitution by UN 2015. Referendum needed. The first draft of a new constitution that abolishes the executive presidency and introduces a new electoral system will be presented to the cabinet by June or July next year, co-cabinet spokesman Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka said. The exact date will be revealed very soon. We don't intend dragging our feet on this issue. And the highlight says, avant-garde government must agree with AG. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa said at a time when the Attorney General has said no legal action can be taken against avant-garde, the government has no right to continue its anti-avant-garde stance. Now let's move to today's highlights on Daily Mirror. Cabinet to be briefed on Budget 2016. A special cabinet meeting is slotted at 9:30 this morning to give a hint of the budget proposals to the members of the Cabinet. Information and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka said. In the highlights on Daily Mirror, government to probe UN working group claims. FCID visits CSN TV office again. Police Financial Crime Investigation Division officers visited the Carlton Sports Network television office yesterday for the second time to collect evidence relevant to the ongoing probe. In the highlights on Daily Mirror, government justifies political appointments in Sri Lanka missions. Though the new government recalled all politically appointed heads and senior officials of Sri Lankan missions overseas to the country, the government had not said it would not make political appointments in the future, the Foreign Ministry said yesterday. In the highlights on Daily Mirror, President's PM's residencies to be relocated. Champika describing the government's plans regarding the proposals. Megapolis Subjects Minister Patalis Champika Ranawaka said that the officials' residencies of the President and the Prime Minister would be moved to Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte close to the parliamentary complex. He said so at the Gambaha District Development Committee meeting held last evening. In the highlights on Daily Mirror, CAA chairman resigns. The chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Dr. R.M.K. Ratnayaka, has tendered his resignation to Industry and Commerce Minister Rasat Badiuddin. Thanks for listening to Paper Highlight.